Hello CloudCannon friends, I'm Tom, a developer here at CloudCannon. In this video I'm going to show you how to manage your CloudCannon sites without ever leaving your terminal using CloudCannon's new command line interface. We'll start with the basics, including installing the CLI, logging in either through a browser authentication flow or using access key credentials, and generating a CloudCannon configuration file for your site. I'll also show you how to validate your configuration, which can be handy to use as a build gate to fail your build if you detect invalid config. From there, we'll get into site management. You'll see how to create a new site from the terminal, update its build configuration, and check the status of a site's last build without ever needing to open a dashboard. Then finally, to finish, we'll write a custom script that talks to the CloudCannon API to check the status of multiple sites' healths across multiple organizations on your CloudCannon account. Then we'll wire that up to a GitHub action that runs daily, so you'll be notified the moment something breaks. There's a lot to get through in this one, so let's jump right in. Okay, so let's start by coming to CloudCannon's CLI repo. We can come down to the README and copy this install script. I can run this anywhere because I'm installing this globally. Then let's check what we've done before this video. I've made a copy of this AstroPaper repo by hitting use this template, creating a new repo on my GitHub org, and then git cloning this down to my local. So I have this repo on my local here and open in VS Code. And then the other thing I've done before this video is set up 2 demo orgs on CloudCannon, and we can demonstrate uploading a site to these orgs and checking the site health of multiple sites on multiple orgs. Since we've installed our CLI package, we can run CloudCannon login, go to this link that it gives us, authorize it, and copy this to your clipboard, paste that into your terminal window. Later in the video, we'll talk about how you use this authorization flow without a web browser using access key credentials. Okay, so let's pretend that this repo that we have on our local is a new client site that we want to upload to CloudCannon. We can come to the root of our repo and run CloudCannon configure generate. Follow the prompts. We're in Astro. We don't want to set a source folder, and we can come through and select the directories that we know have content that we'd like edited in CloudCannon. So I'm going to select these 4, press enter, and create this file. So it's generated a very basic config for us to get started with, and we can come and add to this later. But for now, this is good enough. We could also write our own config in here. And then we can check, obviously we can see that this is a legal config, but say an AI was writing this, or we were writing this programmatically, it might be useful to now run CloudCannon validate, making sure this is saved. And we can see that we have thrown an error here where we have unexpected property our own config in our CloudCannon config file. So if we run that again without the illegal key, we can see we have a fully valid config. It might be useful to know here that you can pipe individual config files into a CloudCannon validate command and use this as a build gate to fail your workflow if you detect invalid config in your config file. Okay, so next we'll upload a site to this CloudCannon org, all from our CLI. You can see in here that there is no AstroPaper demo site in here. We could create it through this, but let's demonstrate doing it through the terminal. So I can run CloudCannon sites create, the org flag, and then give my org name, which I can find in here. You can also list your orgs and then find the org's UUID if you want a more stable name to reference in here. I'm not going to list out all my orgs on a demo video, but I'm just going to run this one flag to create a site in my demo org and then follow the prompts. I'll take the default site name. I will copy the git remote in here and use main branch. And I could come to our sites in our org now and see that we have this new site. We haven't added build config yet, so the build is locked, but we can unlock that and build it now. We can run CloudCannon sites update build config, tell it which site we're using, what install command we want to use, what build command we want to use, and then where we expect the build to output the files, which is dist. And then we also want to turn the building locked off with this no building locked flag at the end here. If I was unsure what this site's build commands were and install commands, I could come to here and I can see it's pnpm, which is how I know to run pnpm install and pnpm run build. Okay, so I'll run this command in the root of my repo. Cool, that's finished, and we receive this data back. We come to our org on CloudCannon here and see that we've attempted a build now. We can also see the build's just failed. So I can check on the status of that last build by going CloudCannon sites, print last build, site AstroPaper demo. Again, this site has a UUID if you wanted to look up a list of sites and then use the UUID for this. But I know the name's AstroPaper Demo, so I can just run this. You can see the build failed, and it's because I don't have the correct node version. Cool, so I can add this node version flag in here and put 24, and the site's build config will now use node 24 for the build. So you have a list, if you look up update build config, you can see a list of flags that you can use to update your build config from the CLI. Now that we've updated the node version, I can check the last build again, and we can see the build passes this time. If I come to CloudCannon, I can see this new site has built, and I can push my config file up to GitHub now and see our site rebuild and show me some collections in here. Cool. I'll push my basic CloudCannon config file now, which will push to GitHub and trigger a rebuild in CloudCannon, and then I should be able to see my collections appear here. You can see the commit show up that I just did, and my configured collections now show in my sidebar. I can also go to the placeholder URL that CloudCannon's given us. See, this site is really on the internet under this wealthylark.cloudvent.net placeholder domain. We can obviously add our own domain to this when we're ready, but for now this serves as a preview and powers our visual editor, which you can see here. So from here, your editors can come in and open posts, edit things, create new posts, and you've set this all up in CloudCannon without needing to leave your CLI. Next, I can show how you could check a list of all your sites. You can either scope this to an individual org or list all your sites across all your orgs. I'm going to scope it to the demo org for this video, and we can see a list of our sites appear when we run this. So there should be an array of 4 sites. You can see those UUIDs I was talking about before with the site name down here. Cool. And you can imagine we could then write a little script that runs over the items in this array and checks things like a site health check. Maybe it checks, is there a sync error? When was it last updated? When did it last build? You could check the status of the last build. And you can run that all programmatically and on a schedule if you like. So let's look at setting something like that up. First, let's just create a file in the root of our repo called sitehealth.njs. Side note, we're going to be checking a bunch of sites health from this repo, which doesn't really make sense in the real world because this is supposedly a client site, but you could run this site health script in a central repo or something and check the status of multiple repos that equate to multiple sites on CloudCannon. So although it doesn't completely make sense, bear with me, we're just going to run the site health script in this repo, but you can set this up wherever you like. So I've just got the AI to whip up a script that uses CloudCannon's API to check the health of a bunch of client sites across multiple orgs on our CloudCannon account. Cool, so if I run node site health here, we can see that we have 0 hard failures, 0 staleness warnings. Okay, so you can see I ran node site health and it worked because we are logged in via our browser. So I run CloudCannon logout and then try to run it again, and we can see that we can't connect to the CloudCannon orgs list. It's failing to give back any information here because we're logged out. So obviously a continuous integration environment isn't going to have a browser to log in with. So let's demonstrate how you would set this up without a browser login flow. So I can come to my account settings here and go to access keys, and you can create an access key here. You can see the CloudCannon CLI that I logged in with earlier in the video, and I can create an access key in here, go to demo video maybe, copy these details. So this time I'll run node site health with an access key ID flag here and an access key secret flag here. I can show you this because I'm going to revoke this straight after the video and before I publish this video. But if you were running this, you would definitely want to keep your access key secret out of your committed files and don't share it with anyone else. You can obviously come and re-roll it here if you do accidentally share it, but yeah, make sure that we don't make that key public. One other note here is I've set this site health script up myself and I've set it up to accept these flags here. So that's not something automatic, that's something that I've done with the AI. You can see I grab the args here. Anyway, I can run that now and can see that my 4 of 4 sites works again. And let's purposefully make this site fail again. Change that build configuration, change that back to 20. And I could have, of course, done that in the CLI, but we can see how we can do either way, and they both accomplish the same thing. Cool, we can see that build error has popped back up here. So if I run my site health check again, I can see Astro Paper Demo has failed. So if I have this as part of a GitHub action and fail the action when I detect something has failed the site health check, then GitHub will send me an automatic email and we can be notified automatically when one of our CloudCannon sites has failed one of these health checks. And that health check can be anything that you want to measure yourself. So last step, I'll set this up as a CI and a GitHub action, and we can take a look at how I've done it. So I can come to .github workflows and add health check. And you can see in here that I have a couple of things that I need to fill out in our GitHub org. Also, let's push that up to GitHub. Oh wait, actually, let's change the cron of this so it runs in about 10 minutes. Cool, so I'm going to get this to run at 3 a.m. UTC just because that's coming up soon. I need to update. This doesn't run in here, this just runs in the root. Okay, so I've added that script as a GitHub action. Last thing we have to do before that will run is come to our settings in our repo on GitHub and come down to secrets and variables for your GitHub actions. And then you can see under the secrets tab here, I've added the CloudCannon access key ID and the CloudCannon access key secret from our terminal before. And I've added two orgs to here, the demo org I've been demonstrating the whole time, and then that second one that I showed at the start of the video, and that's a public variable. Cool, with those set up, our GitHub action should run, and I will check back in and show you when it has. Okay, so it's a couple days later now, and I've had a few runs of this workflow. This first one here ran the same day and passed. I had all the sites in a healthy condition, although I did have a small warning about my GitHub workflow needing to be updated. So I fixed that, updated these to V5. Then the next day I ran a few manual checks, which are useful for testing, and you can run by hitting this run workflow here. I sorted out that warning we had before, and you can see that I have two sites failing this check now. One is because I haven't made a change for over 7 days to the site, and then one is that build I failed on purpose to show this check failing. I made a trivial change to the rest of the sites on my demo orgs just so we can see what it might look like in a more realistic example. I also got an email about that one when it failed. And then on to the last one, which was a proper scheduled workflow. I did play around with the cron a little bit, so it ran a little bit later in the day, but this one ran automatically and failed the check, which we were after. It's the same one as the manual one we ran before. You can see one of my sites hasn't been synced for over a week and one's build has failed. So I got an automatic email about this, and this might be a workflow that you could set up on your own if you have a lot of sites that you want to automatically keep track of and be updated if they're not meeting certain conditions. And that's it. You can now create, configure, and monitor your CloudCannon sites straight from the terminal, and even automate site health checks across all of your organizations on CloudCannon. Everything I covered today is in the CLI documentation, so check the links below if you want to dig deeper. Otherwise, happy building, happy editing, and I'll see you in the next one.